Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the second interview on Finding Me today with my very special guest, and that is the Afghan-American youth activist Abbas Daraab. And Abbas is also an academic at the Medina Institute in Cape Town under the tutelage of Sheikh Ninawi, and he's also studied himself under Sheikh Hamza Yusuf in the US. But in the previous discussion, we spoke about the challenges that the youth face, and of course the most pertinent challenge was identity and identifying yourself, and then the constraints that are placed on searching for this identity by very rigid rules and rituals that are imposed upon Muslims or individuals who are seeking to try and find and understand their religion. For me personally, I found that the greatest challenge that we experienced was to try and tap into, reach and appreciate the spirituality and the love of Islam. So we were caught up in this ritualistic understanding of Islam, only the halal and the haram, the forbidden and what is correct, of Jannah and Jahannam, but more focus of course on the Jahannam, so that you never got in touch with your own emotional experience with Islam. And Abbas was relating the same. So with that, I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome again to the second interview.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran again, and jazakallah khair for having me.
Okay, so Abbas, I know this journey of yours has been challenging from that weird dark days, as you said, and you said, Rumi said, you know, if you fall down, get up, come back all the time. And yes, we understand that is from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His maghfirah, and that's why we ask. And this in the last 10 days of Ramadan of Laylatul Qadr, Allahumma innaka afuun, you know, so the absolute abundance first, because afwa can be abundance, and then the absolute pardon where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala erases the deed so that you don't even see it anymore. That's the difference between afwa and maghfirah. Because maghfirah, He forgives your sin, but it's there, and afwa, He erases it so it's as if it was never there. And so that shows a sign of Allah's greatness and His mercy. So you come back, but you know, how then further? You have your good friends, you have the mosque space. How then do you find that you can elevate yourself and get to that higher level of spirituality?
So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. It's a great question, you know, to have a plan and a strategic way of moving forward. Because if you fail to plan, then you've planned to fail. So, the way my teachers have taught me is it's a three-step process generally. There's a three-step process in regards to our engagement with society, and then there's a three-step process for our spirituality and cleansing as well. So to balance the two, as we said, there's the outward engagement of the body and the limbs, but then there's an inward state of the heart, both of which are important. As for the outward approach, it's the foundation, as we said, has to be sound knowledge. We have to have institutes, we have to have upgraded schools with teachers who can speak to the relevancy of our time, people who are not just teaching you stories and things but not knowing what's going on in society today, people who are aware of the racism and the prejudice and I mean, in America we just had homosexuality legalized in all 50 states. What does Islam say about that? How are we dealing with that? How do you interact with a homophobe that you come across? Etc. So these are things that need to be spoken about, the relevancy of bringing the text to the context and vice versa. So that's the foundation, has to be knowledge. If we don't have sound scholarship, if we don't have sound teachers and people who can teach the religion, who then can advise us as we engage with society, we've failed before we even started. Yeah, we're really doomed ourselves. So that's got to be the foundation, and that's really where I think a lot of our teachers have put their effort, is in establishing sound educational institutions. And this is one of the things that Malcolm X did, is to build institutions, to build places where we can create strong characters, where we can inform people. So that'll be the second part now, is one, you have the foundation of knowledge, but coupled with that has to be action. You cannot just have knowledge, talk the talk, and not walk the walk.
That just reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he was with Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but where he said, the people said, La ilaha illallah, so he said, then leave them, and Umar said, no, don't leave them, because there must be action, let them do the action. Don't stop them at just the belief, there must be action that follows with it, And so that's exactly it, you have the knowledge, but with that, follow up with action.
And to me, the way I've been taught is that's ultimately what spirituality is. Spirituality is just putting your money where your mouth is. MashaAllah, you say La ilaha illallah, you do this, you do that, but what are you doing at nighttime? What is your interaction with your husband and wife? What is your interaction with your children? What is the state of your heart? What is your character? Are you truly working on yourself to better yourself? Are you trying to fight the internal jihad? That is spirituality. You learn something, apply it. Spirituality is the application of the knowledge. And ultimately, it's good character. And that's really the point I want to emphasize, is the importance of good character. That one of the people of spirituality said that tasawwuf for spirituality is good character. Whoever supersedes you in good character has superseded you in spirituality. Spirituality is not gatherings of dhikr, or a hadra, or this, or clothing, or a scarf. That's all formalities and images and forms. Spirituality is the inward state of the heart with Allah. That's application of what the Prophet ﷺ told us. Okay, you say La ilaha illallah, now follow the way of Muhammad Rasulullah. And it's La ilaha illallah is very easy on the tongue. No shaddas, nothing, but Muhammad Rasulullah. That's very difficult now, to follow that way sincerely, to work on your heart every day. That is where it is. And that is where Islam will make an impact on people. It's not you're praying in the mosque is going to convert people. Mashallah, it's good for you. We need that to purify our hearts. But it's going to be when you interact with somebody in the workplace and they treat you bad and you still respond to their bad with good. That ability of hilm, of forbearance, to treat in the face of evil and oppression and darkness and bad treatment to you, you respond with good, light and love. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, light, what does he say? He said, hate cannot be driven out by hate, only love can do that. And light cannot, darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. We need to bring the polar opposites of what society is bringing today. So this is the good character, and many a time, if we look back at our lives, if we had that moment where we came to Islam, it oftentimes was impacted by an individual that we came across whose character and state of being impacted us. For myself, we've mentioned my teacher Sheikh Yahya Rodis. I met him, and for the first time, before I even heard him speak, just seeing him and the light that came from him and the peace and serenity that just emanated from him, I was like, listen, I don't know who this man is, but I want to drink from wherever he's drinking from. I want some of that. And then when he talked, and then the adab and the character when he talked as well, and the intellectual abilities which he was like speaking at, I was so impressed. And I was like, this is what Islam is. It's the character of a person that impresses one. And we read stories over and over again in the seerah of how the Prophet treated an enemy with good character in return, and that was the specific ingredient that led them to come back to Islam.
So do you think the youth are looking for people who are fasih, who are eloquent, who are intellectual, who are appealing, whom they can identify with, and who can perhaps articulate in a way in which they can then respond to?
Absolutely. We need these role models today. This is exactly another crisis I would say for the youth, is a crisis of role models. Who are we looking up to? Who are our children waking up in the morning wishing to be like? Everyone has somebody or a few people, and that's really a big crisis. We have in America, our youth are growing up looking up to Miley Cyrus, looking up to Lil Wayne, looking up to Snoop Dogg changed his name to Snoop Lion. This is what they look up to. Where are those people that Sister just mentioned? Those who understand the religion but understand the context, who are bringing the social justice aspect of Islam and standing up for the rights of blacks who are innocently being killed in America, who are standing up for the rights of women, who are bringing that text, taking the text and bringing it to life by standing up social justice in Islam. And that's the third aspect that I wanted to go into, which is you have knowledge put into action, which is spirituality, and then that has to be ultimately manifested through service to humanity and society. We have to be bringing benefit to society. The Prophet said, "Khairun nas anfa'uhum lin-nas." The best of people are the ones who are the most beneficial, bring benefit to society. Islam actually, when it first came in the Seerah, we know that the tribes and the people of the Prophet, the Quraysh, they said, listen, you can actually go pray, do your thing, do it in the house, just don't impact our society. Just don't ruin the social structure. Don't change the authorities and the way we have them. We like things, we don't want to change that. We like the power that we have. If you don't change that, everything else, we're actually okay with everything else. You can do your dhikrs in the masjid, pray, everything. Just don't change our social structure and our power structure. And he said, I'm sorry, you can put the moon in my right hand and the sun in my left, I can't change it. I was ordered to bring justice and to fight and stand for the poor. He said, oh Allah, let me live as a person, let me live as a poor person, let me die as a poor person, and let me be resurrected with the poor people. Allahu Akbar. He came as an orphan, he died as an orphan, he lost his children. We were supposed to be there for the downtrodden, for those who are suffering in society. So what are we doing to bring service to the poor, to the orphans, to the downtrodden, to the women, to our colored folk? He made Bilal his mu'adhin. That doesn't mean you can just make a black person your mu'adhin, and now we've dealt with all of racism issues in our society. No, it's much more nuanced and complicated. That's years and years of oppression and history that we have to deal with, and really try to bring retribution to in any sort of way that we can. So these are real issues. So knowledge, spirituality, and then we have to put our money where our mouth is and serve people. If Islam was bringing so much benefit to society, ISIS wouldn't have made so much noise. But because we're a bit quiet, we like to be insular in our own communities, only bring benefit to the Muslims, then the non-Muslims are like, well, where are they? Since I don't know what they're saying, these people are actually defining them. If we spoke louder through our actions in society, they wouldn't be influenced so much by ISIS. But our absence is what allows them to carry such a good voice. So if we need to really bring that aspect of social justice back, and that means standing up for the orphans, Muslims should have the most orphanages in society. Like our Prophet said, the one who deals with the orphan takes care of orphans like this. How are we not bringing the most orphans? How are we not dealing the most with social services? I'm not saying people aren't doing good work. And then the Prophet came to uplift the condition of women. The greatest scholar, one of the greatest scholars in Islam was Sayyidina Aisha. Fatima Zahra. You cannot learn about her biography and then not want to uplift women. And then to uplift the condition of the poor, the colored people, the foreigners in our communities. These are all real things. And so oftentimes we learn Islam and then we have to keep it in our own comfort zone. We have to do Islam within our desires. We actually pick and choose. I like this part of Islam, I like that part. We go shopping and we take whatever we like and make our nice version. We're not going to force anything, but you can't pick and choose. You have to follow Islam and be justice and have justice and fairness with all people.
Okay, but I have to stop you. We're going to a break, but exactly as you said, I do believe that the strange thing about Muslims is that we've made our own apartheid of Islam.
Absolutely.
We had apartheid of a race, but we had an apartheid of Islam. But let's hold on to that thought. When we come back, we'll take the conversation further. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the final segment of the second interview today on the ITV networks with my special guest, and that is Brother Abbas Daraab. Now, before we went into the break, Abbas was speaking about bringing out your Islam, benefiting mankind. And of course, that reminded me of a particular discussion that I always have, and that is I felt that although Muslims in South Africa benefited in the sense of, maintaining perhaps that conservative level of Islam and understanding the religion, I don't know if it is a difference between understanding and practicing it, but of course in many ways we made an apartheid of the religion also, and it is about questioning ourselves. And in the previous discussion that I had with Sister Rubina Gour, we spoke about Yasin and the Quran. One of the most important, I think, points that came across was that the Quran holds you accountable. It's addressing you. It's talking to you. It's not about the other and everybody else. It's telling you something. You should be taking the message from the Quran. You should look at it as a mirror and hold it up to yourself and say, what can I learn from here? And so, Brother Abbas, I want to take it perhaps a little bit further from there, and I find that perhaps one of our greatest shortcomings when we look at ourselves as Muslims is our reluctance to admit our own faults, our own mistakes, our own shortcomings. We're very quick, very easy, find it very easy to blame the other, to blame everybody else but ourselves.
This is unfortunately one of the sad realities of our communities and our members of our communities on an individual level. We do this as a community and like Muslim Ummah to a certain sects within each other, and then we love to do this to people as well. And we use the cop-out that, Islam says, encourage good, forbid evil. and then we'll discourage and forbid is a very intense word, but forbid evil from everyone. It's very easy to point fingers. Very easy to point fingers, and that's why the Prophet we love to point fingers like this, and when you do this, you have to do pointing back. Okay, so we should but that's why he actually used to point like this. He never actually pointed he always pointed like this, because that's from his hikmah. But the point is, it's very easy to notice the flaws of others, but Jesus, peace be upon him, said, be aware of pointing out the flaws of others when you have
a log in your own eye,
within your own self. And there's wise sayings of Imam Ali and other of our spiritual sages who say, glad tidings to the one who is distracted with the faults of others by his own faults. Amazing is this condition of a person who is so worried about their own condition, they don't have time to focus on other people. This is the reality. Allah is not going to ask us what so and so did on Judgment Day. They're not going to be asked, I'm not going to be asked about her or she. No, and he said he's going to clarify everything. So all this ikhtilaf and this different opinion is a mawdud, okay. It's not, at the end of the day, nothing matters if it's not bringing you closer to Allah and it's not helping your condition on the Day of Judgment. At the end of the day, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ. Protect yourselves and your family. So, therefore, take yourselves to account first of all. Now, a great example of the paradigm or the lens of the believer is the story of the ifk with Aisha radiallahu anha. When she came back with the young man, and everyone saw them, and there was two perspectives, the perspective of the believer and the perspective of the munafiq. The believer immediately saw them, and the munafiq, let's start with the munafiq. The munafiq saw them and their opinion was right away, something's going on there. There's got to be something wrong. You immediately see a flaw with them. You have bad in you, so you can only see bad in others. So let's start it. Let's spread. Let's do one of the major sins in Islam, and slander and backbite and spread bad rumors. And may Allah protect us from those things in this month. Allow us to never fall into it, and forgive us if we've fallen into it in the past. And then the believers saw it like, peculiar situation. There must be some reason behind it though. And the believer, having good in their heart, can only see good. So this is the reality. When we see bad in others, it's al-mu'min mira'at al-mu'min. The believer is the mirror of the believer. If you, mashallah, tabarakallah, everywhere you see hypocrites and disbelievers and bad, evil, this, bid'ah, that. What's in your heart that all you can see is that in others? Bad, yeah. Mashallah, the believer, all they can see is good in other people. They see the good, they take the good, and they advise and try to overlook and try to change and reform the bad. Okay, so yes, it is important to change bad in Islam. We try to be agents of goodness in society to bring good and try to reform. I prefer reform.
Reform then change. Yeah.
Reform any injustice instead of forbid evil. But as the hadith says, if you see bad, change it with your hand. Okay, and then if not with your hand, then with your tongue, and not with your tongue, then despise it and do not approve of it in your heart. So yes, we do have to make change, but ultimately, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will not change the condition of a people, which shows that it's Allah's duty to change the condition of the people, not yours, until you change that which is within yourself, which is your duty. Your duty is yourself, is your nafs, and what do you have to work on. So ultimately, we are full of flaws. We are full of shortcomings, sins that people don't know about, and the Muslim, knowing that they want to be forgiven by Allah, will forgive others. The Muslim, knowing that they want to be overlooked by Allah, will overlook others. The Muslim, knowing that they want to have mercy and gentleness with Allah, will treat others the same. But if we are treating everyone else intense, scrutiny, this, that, and the third, how do we expect Allah to be with us on the Day of Judgment?
That's a major challenge, and yet what you spoke about earlier was husn zan, have a good opinion, and the Prophet ﷺ advised that, and you find that in Surah Al-Hujurat also, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, don't be suspicious, keep a good opinion, all of those things. So if these are the major challenges that the youth are facing, obviously it's a crisis also that's coming from the adults and from the parents, and they've had to endure it. And obviously, as you said, there's no role model. You're struggling to find or to traverse your own paths, etc. Having come this journey, and basically, I shouldn't say you've come, I suppose you're still undertaking this journey. What do you find has been very, very strong and supportive for you that has allowed you to start making these changes? And who are perhaps some of the best, individuals whom you've come across, who, besides Shaykh Yahya Rhodes, as you spoke about earlier, who've managed to help you and to guide you?
There's a hadith that says that al-ulama warathatul anbiya. The scholars are the true inheritors of the prophets, and the prophets did not leave behind any dirham or any type of money, but rather they leave behind knowledge. And whoever has grabbed this knowledge has taken hold of a great thing. And our religion is a religion that's founded in knowledge, and the soul finds life when it confronts the truth and is able to be in line with the truth and know the truth in itself, in the soul. So for me, I find repose in the company of the true inheritors of the prophets. And I find repose in those who not only are the inheritors, but have inherited so much from the Prophet and have applied that knowledge so perfectly in the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that they now fall under the category of the awliya of Allah. And obviously, you can't definitively say who the awliya are, but as the Quran says, there are signs. There are signs on them, and when you're with them, you know. And it's a person that when you see them, they remind you of Allah. And when they speak, they increase your desire of the hereafter. These, for me, there's nothing greater in life than the companionship of such people. And we have females and males like this in our communities. And the greatest thing is to ask Allah to guide you to His people, to the people of Allah, and to make us people of Allah. To not belittle yourself and think low. Again, it's all about good opinion. It starts from Allah, good opinion of Allah, and then a good opinion of yourself, and then reflect that good opinion of everyone. And to make dua that Allah makes us all from the greatest of the awliya with gentleness. Because when Allah loves someone, He makes him His wali, He trials and showers them with tribulation. And if that person is patient, Allah takes them close and said, you are now my wali, you are now my close friend. But if not, He leaves them to themselves. So there are people like this that through their companionship, our soul finds life. The Sahaba were not the Sahaba. What does Sahaba mean? The companions. We didn't call them the fuqaha, the ulama, the muftis. Those terms are all bid'ahs that we say today, if you want to talk about bid'ahs. They were the Sahaba. What identified them was their companionship. Our deen is through inheriting it from those who came before us, those who authentically took it from those who came before them, who came before them, who came before them, who came and sat with Prophet ﷺ. So to sit with these people, and we have men and women, it's not just a solely man enterprise, and we need more women, and we need our that's one thing. I have a sister who's a year younger than me, and she studied with me at my school, Zaytuna College, alhamdulillah, and I have a younger sister who's 9 years old, and I believe, I hope and pray that they become scholars, and that they become leaders in our ummah, and we need female leaders. If they don't have female role models, then they're going to look up to those than others. So we need to have, one of the biggest problems in our community, we love to, like we said, forbid the evil, but then we don't provide an alternative.
Yes, you can't discipline a child by saying no without saying why, and provide the alternative.
Exactly.
I give you an alternative.
My mother's always like, don't hang out with these guys, to my brothers. Don't hang out with them. But who should they hang out with?
Exactly.
Find something for them to do.
Because it's natural that they want the companionship.
So this is really one of the greatest crises. We need role models, and we need to empower our young people to become educated, and then to find that balance. Not only just be Islamic and study the Hadith, the Quran, but then what is your passion? Allah put something in our hearts that you love that thing, and that Allah put it there. And as long as it's within the bounds of the Sharia, explore that, and now bring that passion with Islam, and now find a way to serve the community through that. And then inshallah we can have new role models, people who have a balanced approach to Islam that can speak to the young people. And then some of the people that have inspired me in my generation and would be people like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf in America, Imam Zayd Shakir, Sheikh Muhammad bin Yahya al-Ninawi, the books of Imam al-Ghazali, the books of Imam al-Haddad, short summarizations of the books of Imam al-Ghazali, things like this. Yasmin Mujahid, one of our great female sisters, great leaders, and I pray Allah preserves her and yourself and other sisters who are doing this work, because it's not easy, and there are men who don't appreciate this, and that's a cultural thing. Islam does not say women have no role. Rather, women have always had a role. The oldest university in the world is started by a Muslim. Allahu Akbar. That's enough right there. Not only by a Muslim, like you said, a female Muslim started the oldest university. So study our book. Let's study history again. Let's read our books.
But everything that you're saying, it's ironic, because you said our religion is founded and grounded on knowledge. Yet we somehow severed that particular, that particular right in the last couple of decades. So last couple of 100 years, actually, I should say, where we've stopped this ijtihad, stopped this learning, stopped this progress, stopped this experimentation, and it has just been a dogmatic program.
Absolutely.
That has put us into this deterioration, so that the West claims the modernity and they claim enlightenment, yet it was Islam who originated it all.
Absolutely. This is a very important point to make, that there are those who consciously have this agenda to destroy the foundations of Islam. Our enemies know us better than ourselves. Our enemies have studied the history books, and they know that when the Muslims come together, when the Muslims are unified, when the Muslims follow their true scholars, and they purify their hearts with the companionship of the awliya, they're unstoppable. They've studied the books, they know they can't defeat us. So if you can't defeat them, if you can't beat them, then join them and defeat them from within. From within, divide and conquer, old tested rule. tested strategy. Divide, and if you study the Muslims today, one thing you'll know from West Africa to South Africa to America, divide and conquer the Muslims. This is, and yet, mashallah, Wahhabi, Sufi, Salafi, this, that. The person who can bring our people together and agree. We have so much that we agree on. There's a few things here and there. Okay,
but we focus on the difference.
You don't do that, khair. And the mark of an educated person is the one who has patience to know. Our Prophet came with different methods, different ways. He taught the Sahaba differently, knowing وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Take a look on the heart, and inshallah your state is with Allah.
But we're at the end again, so very quick, a favorite saying, a favorite quote. What would you like to leave us with? I
would like to leave us with this final hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and just the way of the Sunnah, which is the way of unity and the way of love. That we are in a time that is desperately in need of love, hope, and compassion. So the one who shows mercy to others will be shown to. The one who forgives others will be forgiven. And to have a good opinion of Allah. Have a good opinion of Allah. And I'll end with what I ended the first time. Allah is as you imagine Him to be. If you imagine Him to be good and merciful and kind and forgiving, He will be so. And if you want to see Him otherwise, He'll be so. And if you don't want to see Him, He'll make Himself disappear for you. So may Allah allow us to have a good opinion of Him.
But Jazakallah, thank you very much for sharing this time and for sharing these thoughts, and we hope you benefit. Fi abadillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.